Well, welcome everybody. It's November. Yeah, the November online program for the Sunshine Coast Health Center alumni. And as all of you know, I'm an artsy. And I was thinking about Shakespeare the other day. And Shakespeare in his last play, so it's the last play he wrote, so he's getting on in years. It's called A Winter's Tale, by the way. The winter of his life. But anyway, he talks about what does it mean to live this full life? Like, how do you do this? And his big point is that sort of the process that you have to go through is you have to go live life and then step back and think about it, reflect on it. What's been going on? And then you, after reflecting, you go out and live some more life, and then you step back. Think about it, reflect, what's going on. And all of this will influence you as you go on and according to Shakespeare, make your life richer and more fulfilled. So I decided for this month, the November program, that we'll take a step back and reflect on what we've been doing for the last, actually it turns out to be 2 years in the online program. But it's also a good thing for you to do. It's just to think about this, right? When I do it for myself, I think about where I was 15 years ago. Actually, I was sitting in a treatment center, getting cleaned up. And a whole bunch of things happen in my life, and I end up here in another treatment center. Okay, so that's a bad example, but you get the point, right? Okay, so we're going to think about the key themes that we've come up with for the alumni online program for the past couple of years. And this was an interesting exercise because I sifted through all the alumni responses and looked at some research and looked at the material and came up with 4 key points. Okay, so 4 key points, 4 key themes that'll help you with your recovery. And in no real particular order, except for maybe the first one. And the first one is you are the author of your life. This is something that we tell you over and over again in this facility, probably to a point where you get sick of it. But the reason we do it is not just because we happen to think it's a cool idea. No, this is actually backed up by research. Only in research we don't actually call it you are the author of your life. We use goofy terms like intrinsic motivation and stuff like that. Anyway, that's just psychology. You don't have to worry about that. But the 12-step program is very big on this as well. In fact, as some of you know, that I like to bring up the chips that AA gives out. This is a Just for Today chip, right? And it says on one side of it, to thine own self be true. Yeah, so that tells us a lot, that AA would believe in this enough that it would actually put it on the chips, because there's not a lot of room here. There's not much stuff you can put on this, right? So they thought this one was big enough and important enough to actually put on the chip. And in fact it is. This is the concept of being true to yourself, of taking charge of your life, or the way we phrase it, being the author of your life. And the reason it's so important is because addicts are famous for not being in charge of their life. Oh, they make decisions all the time, but what's driving them is the drug use. It's got nothing to do with what they truly want or what their heart's desire is or anything like that. No, it's the getting and the using and the waiting to get more, right? And all of the creative endeavors needed to achieve all that, right? So what's driving them is the drug use. But even in early recovery, one of the things that we discover all the time is a lot of the fellows, they too are not in control of their lives. All these external things are controlling them. 45-year-old men married with 3 kids who own their own company are still living their life by what they believe their father's expectations of them are. We have some of the younger crowd here, right, who rely on mom and dad for everything. Every time they get into trouble, bang, first phone call, right? Oh, well, I don't really have to worry because, I know mom and dad will be there to rescue me. So they don't even face reality, right? There's always this nice cushion that they get to fall onto. And it shows up in many ways. even you may remember your time in group here, for example. Maybe you were one of the fellows who believe, well, geez, I can't really say anything to this fellow group member because I don't want to hurt his feelings and ruin his day. Well, in actual fact, you don't have that much power, right? Remember Rule 62. And those of you who've forgotten it, it's one of the best things ever came out of Alcoholics Anonymous. Rule 62 says, don't take yourself so seriously because, frankly, you're not that important. You don't have the power to destroy other people's days and lives and all that other stuff. But the reason we keep talking about this is this concept of being the author of your life. It is actually backed up by research. And I don't know if you remember this, but we even had a workshop on this. I even gave you the statistics on it. It is from our best research, this is the single greatest factor that will influence your recovery. And the key being, if you can make sense of your life and recognize that it's your life, that there will be no thunderbolts coming down from the heavens to save you, and basically you've got one life to live, so what are you going to do with it? Right? What are the choices you are going to make in order to live this full life and this satisfying life and this life that is true to you as a human being? What exactly are those choices? And if you're interested in this, there's a very famous theory called self-determination theory, which is one of the foundational theories we use at the Sunshine Coast Health Center as well. And you can Google it, because I think you can even get free articles about this. But this idea of being self-determining, so you get to choose what you do in life. You have that freedom. This is one of the great things about being human, right? You actually have the freedom to choose what you want out of life. And if you have the freedom to choose, what it means is you can say to yourself, well, this is the kind of life that I would like. This is a life where I'm being true to myself. And then ask yourself, if you keep using the drugs, are you going to achieve this life? Right? That's really the bottom line key here is, what do you have to do in your life in order to achieve whatever it is you want, right? And that's an important choice, and you have the freedom to make that choice. And if you're being true to yourself, if you're paying attention to it, then this becomes fundamentally important for you. On the other hand, if you use that very famous coping scale, oh, F it, yeah, nothing matters anyways, then you're not really being true to yourself. Well, unless you're a raving psychotic, I guess, maybe. But other than that, normal human beings, regular old slobs like you and me, like, we actually believe that we're important and that it's worthwhile for us to go to pursue life. Anyway, that's week 1. So in the following weeks, what we'll do is we'll come up with three more of these main themes, and then on the 5th week, what we're going to do is we're going to try to tie it all together. But until then, see you next week.